Look at me. Look at me. I'm a Panther Rider. I'm a Panther Rider. Hey, everyone. D here, and welcome to this week's review of Book of Boba Fett. Very excited to get into Chapter 4, The Gathering Storm. Let's not waste any time. Joining us, as always, it is from Smirking Reviews, Rob Stone.
What's up, everybody? Good to be back. I was getting really ready to talk about Peacemaker, uh, but here we are. So let's not waste any more time talking to me as we introduce the man down below that finishes up the trio, Mr. Don Willie.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Man, right when we needed to pick me up for this series. Hey, Star Wars Mafia style.
Hey, look, I'm just thrilled that we may be finally out of the bacta tank by the end of this episode. So yeah, let's get into it. Want to be sure to thank everybody who is joining us live in the chat, everyone joining us in the archives, and of course, if you are enjoying this review, please hit the like button, the subscribe button, all the various buttons that are down below there. That would be just great. All right, so this week's episode is done with saying, this, to me, the show has finally started. And in many ways, I don't even think we really need much of the previous episodes. You could have squeezed most of that down into the little 5-minute, fever dream before we get to this episode. And I think it would have served the point almost perfectly. We get an episode that has story, motivation. Why are people doing things? What is it that they want? There's action. People getting shot. A lot of people getting shot. Kind of everything that we really were hoping for. I think certainly on my end. Was it perfect? No. I have some criticisms. We'll get into some stuff. We'll do it a fun way because I'm just happy that the show's finally started. Don, let's kick things off with you. What did you think of this week's episode?
I think finally Django Fett would be proud. I think finally we can claim him as a Mandalorian now, right? This was kind of interesting because it got to where we saw basically the return of Boba Fett in Mando season 1 without actually realizing it.
2.
Well, no, because remember, picks up Fennec in season 1.
Well, okay, no, fair enough. You are right with the gunslinger.
Right. So, to me, I'm like, oh, all right, this, links everything back together again, ties everything up, and now we definitely know how long he was in that Sarlacc pit. Because before I was kind of like, is this, maybe a few months after? Is it a few years? Is it the 5 years that we've been told Mandalorian takes place? Before this, you didn't get a concrete thing. Now we know he was in a Sarlacc pit for like damn near 5 years.
Actually, we may get into that. Let's keep going, but I actually get a little counter to that. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so either way, I mean, and man, Slave One, which what I forget what they decided the new name is going to be. Is it just basically whatever the class of ship it is?
Yeah, it's a fire spray class gunship, so they're just calling it a fire spray now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I was like, whatever, maybe never mind. Finally, though, we see the pieces being put together the way they should be, though. And that's the thing that I liked about it. Just like, okay, come on, we knew that Chrysanthemum would be back. We knew he was going to be part of the team. Like you said, the last 3 episodes, they could have condensed all that into into some flashbacks, and, and we would have been just fine. So, yeah. But this is the team we wanted to see to begin with, except maybe the cyberpunk. Except for maybe those guys. I think everything else kind of fits the way that we were expecting. And now I think I'm gonna go and say that Fennec is not going to betray Boba after seeing this episode.
Yeah, I think that pretty much set it down pretty clear. I agree with you. Rob, what yourself? What's your thoughts on tonight's or this week's episode?
Cautiously, very cautiously optimistic, because this one, I mean, I was prepared to just, like I said, I was ready to talk Peacemaker. I've seen the new one. I've seen the new episode. It's a much better show. And I was ready. I was almost hoping that this was going to suck so that I would be able to at least talk about this other show that's been pretty much on the same, pretty good track. But yeah, damn it, if they didn't just make a good episode that, like you said, like you both said things that I thought when I watched it the second time. The cyberpunk thing was like, the cyberpunk stuff I guess they must have made this before. We're making this before cyberpunk tanked. Like, because this is what everybody's going to be into in 2021.
Ouch!
Cyberpunk stuff, and it's such a lazy way to create space people. Just put that on your space person now. But this episode was really good, and I do think you can chalk it up to what you mentioned in a tweet earlier about the director change, and why this feels different. It's one of the reasons why I have a bit of a problem with it, because now it just feels like tonally off from what we were already given. Not that it's not better, but now we've shifted in tone so abruptly that it's jarring. And it just makes me remember how bad everything was before this. And by bad, I mean, because again, we did enjoy bits of every one of these episodes.
Yeah.
I'm even looking forward, looking towards the next episode. I'm still only kind of because they're going to be bringing, Armando back. I don't even think that's really necessarily a great idea. Right now, we've already sacrificed a ton of story to possibly set up other things, other shows, and now we're just getting the show we want, and we're going to switch over to what all anybody's going to be talking about is
Bando showing up.
Not even like, so on Boba Fett's show, he's going to become like not even important in the next episode. It's going to be about, is he going to say anything about the Grogu? Like, Joe Sixpack,
you're right.
Is all Twitter is going to be no baby Yoda. Sorry. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, why would he even show up? Well, I had a weekend off from my Jedi Academy. Thought I'd head to Tatooine, my old buddy Boba Fett.
Like, I've seen posters that showed like Cad Bane. Now, see, that would be like tight. Get that, bring that guy to life. Let Mando do his thing. This is supposed to be the book of Boba Fett. I feel like they're going to be directing things too far in another direction, but I've kind of gotten off track here.
Yeah. No, well, that's the thing is
it's all part of it. It's all like when I talk about it, it's all part of it. Like I just can't. But
well, I'm making notes here for that same kind of thing of what we're getting into, because each one kind of brings up the stuff. The first is, as we sort of start out, is sort of what Don hits on, which is the time situation. And they are extremely fast and loose on time in this show. And at this point, I just got to give it up. Since and again, I don't want to go off on a tangent and I don't want to go into people's criticisms too deeply, but one of the things the prequel series has done, and they've sort of gone into, is they have negated the concept of time and distance. Getting from one place to another doesn't take any set amount of time. You can go as far across the galaxy in light speed as quick as you need, halfway across and back in an afternoon. That's not a problem, as opposed to weeks and different paths and different ideas and stuff that you had more of an idea in some of the earlier series. Time is the same thing here, because Dawn, you're right. It seems like he was in that Sarlacc pit for 5 years, except in the Gunslinger, they show that Cobb Vanth got the armor right after they found out the Death Star blew up, the second one, when the mining guild came in and took over the town and he ran out. So the Jawas didn't have the armor for that long. Obviously, the idea that there's a guy in Mandalorian armor out in the middle of nowhere and it doesn't really get out is a thing, but middle of nowhere, who knows? Nobody knows Mandalorian. It's just a big fancy armor, whatever. I can buy that. But this kind of more implies that he was with the Tuskens for 5 years, which also makes no sense if you really go into the story and how long the whole train, where did that come? So at this point, whatever. That's what I'm saying. If he had just told Fennec, hey, man, Tuskens took me in, I wandered around, I was going to give up, and then I got him in trouble, and now I'm back, I would have bought 5 years of that. Showing us, it's like, man, okay, that was maybe a couple of weeks, a month, maybe 2 months. You can go out, not really much longer than that. He certainly never saw the train before, if that was so anyway, again, I don't want to go off too much into tangents, but I think we'll find ourselves hitting a lot of these aesthetic choice things that I think is what really becomes the hiccup in the show for a lot of us older Star Wars fans that are used to a certain aesthetic and look and feel. But let's kick things off. And at least, again, this show starts off. Boba Fett's wandering the desert on his bantha. Going back to Jabba's palace to get his ship overloaded, goes back, and then sees a light in the sky to bring him to a new solution to his problems. This felt like a good opener. This felt like where we should have gone. He got his armor. Now he's back here, or he's couldn't fight his armor. Now he's back. He's getting his ship. He's back on his life. And we get to Fennec. And I loved how we moved this at a very quick pace as well. So what do you guys think about the whole Fennec show up? I mean, we started getting into the whole mods thing and the techno music, which again just felt out of place. But any thoughts on our opening bit there, up through the mods and anything else you want to go into on that?
I mean, it's nice that we were seeing that we were quickly catching up, at least, and we knew that if they weren't gonna be able to push this too much longer.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that was nice. Everything else, like I said, it didn't really. Every single thing that was happening, I was watching and just hoping it wouldn't backslide. Like I was watching this, like I had a hard time enjoying anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everything that I was seeing was good, but I was going into every single shot with like this eye of, how are they going to mess this up? And they kept not messing it up here. And I think that the way that they handled Fennec in this, at least with the whole, like I understand why he had to take her where they took her. Mm-hmm. I wish that was not something they had created, the cyberpunk thing. But I'll probably become numb to it sooner rather than later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if I'm just gonna have to accept that this is a part of the Star Wars universe now, or maybe it always was, and now they're pushing it to the forefront. What do I know? But I really like that whoever did this, and again, I'm gonna probably talk about the director here, the director's influence of like everything that they did. It felt like, okay, old habit, old hat. I'm with Melinda May, except we're in space, and all of her reactions. I mean, I I don't want to say that she's exactly just she's just playing a different version of May, and we've made plenty of jokes about this of like it's really her undercover. Either this is how she her origin, or this is where she ended up.
There you go. There
Either
you go.
one is good. Either story is good. And so when you have somebody really understands television also, Robert's a great director, but he's a film director. And maybe part of the problem was being confined to the style of television. Maybe this is him cutting his teeth. I have a hard time believing that this is the only episode of television he's directed, but
yeah. Well, no, because he did the tragedy last season, and that was a good episode. That was the Boba Fett intro. So no, this is a lot of kind of spy kids. And by the way, sorry, viewers, we've been touching around it. Kevin Tancharoen was the director of this episode. He's a longtime director of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is why we were so happy about somebody that seems to suddenly come in, and we got Ming-Na Wen back. She's doing awesome action. We get story, we get motivation, we get all of the things that we talk so highly about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. of, all kind of squeezed into one episode. So yeah, this is why we keep kind of hitting on this little point.
Yeah, this is definitely like May and Coulson, some version of that out in the desert. And they really nailed that kind of feeling for at least those of us who know both worlds. And also understand the difference in tones and stuff, because this felt like a completely different show at this point now. And as long as they keep those mod people in where they need to be, which is minor, and if they want to give them their own spinoff, great. I would pray to whatever exists out there in the cosmos that we wouldn't be talking about it for a show. We would let it just exist out there. But other than that, that's my feelings on that part of it.
Sure. Want to jump in for real quick, say hi to a few of our awesome fans joining in with the chat. There's, of course, Doc Moore. Doc, always good to see you. The Rich Room joining us often in our chat. Blackburn Cantu, thank you for joining us. The Boy Wanda as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining in. Really appreciate your little comments. Definitely, Rich, May in space. Really appreciate that. Doc, really enjoying a lot of the points that Rob is making. And yeah, there's a lot of aesthetic things. And I think this is the issue with the mod stuff. There's a certain aesthetic that Star Wars has and has had. And there's nothing to say that can't change and you can't introduce new stuff. But this is a shocking big change in a well-established location. If it was a different location, it may not be that big of a thing. But it does start to play into a lot of the, I think, aesthetic issues that we have. And Don, I really want to get your opinion on this because I know how much you love that techno scene. Is this stuff starts to feel like an off-brand Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like galaxy battles. And I think this is an issue that Disney may be running into. If anybody is curious, look up the Starliner, the Star Wars big hotel that was supposed to debut at Disney World and Disneyland. They put a big ad out, massive fan reaction. They took that down. You can't find it. I mean, I'm sure you can dig around and locate it. But the look and feel of the Star Wars Starliner looked like something out of the 78 Buck Rogers, man. It didn't look like Star Wars. And I think that might be one of the issues. There's nothing about integrating new things, but you got to kind of do it right, or you just get, blowback. And if you're fine with that's okay too. But Don, what did you think about that in the sense of the aesthetic of how this scene felt, and why it might have felt so jarring?
I mean, well, listen, for one, the music, right? So that was the first thing that was totally out of place. You never heard techno in Star Wars before. Not that you didn't have some EDM-ish kind of music in certain scenes, but it still felt as though it belonged in that setting. This was just like, nope. It damn near sounded like Streets of Rage. I'm waiting for one of the characters to come out and just stand in the way. I'm like, okay, this is weird, and since when are these people carrying around money? I mean, I thought they had credits that they used.
Yeah,
Kind of electronic. Boba Fett's carrying around a sack of money. Okay.
Yeah. I have no idea. So that's actually a good point. But
and then also just looking at Fennec's mods, right? Who designed that? Because I'm looking at how it looks, and I'm like, if this person is supposed to be able to do all this acrobatic stuff, shouldn't the innards be a little more flexible? I mean, because to me, it would seem like it would be very difficult to bend over with these kind of metal rods that little pistons and all that. So yeah, that to me just seemed very out of place. I mean, just anatomically speaking. Um, so yeah, I know this is nitpicky as all hell, but it just stuck out to me because I'm like, wait, all right, if you think about how the human body works, and we only have one kind of bone structures, the backbone and all that. There's no bones in the front under the rib cage. So how does she bend? How does she bend?
it's pistons,
And nitpicky would be really like that's not as big a. I don't know if that's as big a nitpick as that is like if somebody wanted to teach people how to do surgery without showing surgery because we're Disney Plus and we just want them to know that she was hurt and now she's got robot parts, and how that happened was just the cleanest. It was done so perfectly. I mean, we're talking about a gut shot, and she's now got new guts, and
Sure.
and forget about the fact that the guy's tray looked like the tray that was used in the first Batman movie on the Joker. Okay, so they're fine with it looking like crap as long as you don't show anything else, because it was just like just like we can't even like allude to anything like serious too far, and it's just so boring. Like that we have to come up with these these nitpicks because it's just when you were talking about Star Wars Light, there were several times in this episode alone that I was like that this is really we talk about live action animation all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But this one felt like I was watching like parts of it were like watching Rebels. something like that, where the little shenanigans like that they were getting up to in this.
Oh yeah, no,
Like-
the comic shenanigans, especially in the kitchen there with the bunny bot. Yeah,
But like the mod stuff, everything, or the Vespas in the last episode, this all, and the way it looks like somebody just animated or live action to like a literal recreation of an animated scene from, and not in a good way. Like it looked as clunky as the episodes, the animated episodes look. Because I mean, we can like shows like Rebels and Clone Wars, but there's a lot of like scenes that just look like ass, animation wise.
sure.
Clunky and blocky and look like this is not Star Wars. You realize you're not really watching anything, with too big a substance. No matter if the story in the end is canon or whatever. And that's what a lot of this kind of feels like, is this kind of just silly kids stuff mixed in with like this story that there's a really dark story going on that could be like interesting, but we're undercut by this like light feeling of like again, show made by committee version of Star Wars. And again, I hate agreeing with the people that tout that kind of stuff all the time, but that's the feeling still that I'm getting, even though this episode was, like we keep saying, a complete upgrade in almost every way, except for the really long shots of walking with banthas. Yeah, like we did. Like everything has to have an entrance.
It definitely leaned into the fireplace discussion idea, because we get all of our story, we get all of our motivation basically split up in 3 little fireplace discussions between Boba Fett and Fennec. We learn about, Fennec or Boba kind of packs up his background, how he got here. Now that he wants to get his stuff, he wants to get his ship, he wants to go back. He's learned some things, and we've learned why he wants to become a head of a family. He just feels, hey, these people are dumb. They get a lot of people killed. We could do it smarter, save lives, and make a lot of money. Okay. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but at least there's a motivation. He does mention one thing that I didn't know if you guys caught. He talked about, what is he? Where does he think? I want to go back and get revenge on the pigskin that betrayed me, kind of referring to Bib Fortuna. Do you guys remember Bib betraying Boba Fett? Or anyone betraying Boba Fett?
Not that I can think of. So
I mean, I get the motivation of revenge, but it's like, dude, you delivered Han, you hung out, and then you went and jumped on the skiff to go get him. It's your own dumbass that got the backpack hit and fell into the Sarlacc. So what the hell does Bib Fortuna have to do with this?
I mean,
yeah, the thing with with this, I don't know. I feel like there's at least one more kind of weird logic error in this episode that we'll get to coming up with the Sarlacc. But I just I don't know. It's just as good as it is. It's still sloppy.
Sure, but again, at least we get story. At least we get motivation. And again, I think I timed it out. I think it's like 5 or 6 minutes out of the whole episode split into 3 scenes of dialogue that covers everything that you needed to know. And it's all felt natural. It was a great connection. I mean, I know we needed this kind of back and forth and over to get it, and the Tuskens were just sign language and things like that. But I don't know. For me, by episode 4, finally getting why people are doing stuff feels a little late.
Yeah, it's very late. I was tired. You know what I mean? I'm tired already. I'm like, I'm not even, like I said, we know where it's headed, but I'm not excited anymore for the journey. Because they took too long to get off the ground. Again, I think that's, again, we're trying to talk about the positive, but we can't talk about the positive until we talk about, really what all this feels like is one whole so far. And it's just like, we dragged our feet for so long and did so many dumb things along the way that when you're not even looking forward to the episode and you get a good episode, it's just like, ugh. Like I'm thinking, oh, we used to go, oh my God, we're halfway done. Oh my God, guys, what are we gonna do? How are they gonna do this? We start speculating and go down millions of rabbit holes. And here I'm just going, God, I hope it's over soon. And that, you know what I mean? Like,
well, speaking of rabbits, we did, of course, have our fun little like comic diversion as we went back to finally get our ship. Which, look, I was wondering why Bib might have held on to this thing for 5 years. I'm glad it didn't get sold off or bought or turned to scrap. But I guess Boba Fett's ship's kind of a collector's piece. You might keep that in your garage for a little bit. So, again, cool with that. And I loved Fennec's little floater thing. See, now aesthetically, that felt totally in line with Star Wars. Maybe a little fast in its motion, but to me, that felt fine. And then you got to get the cartoon scene where you run around a kitchen chasing a robot droid. But we get good action. Don, what did you think about our retrieving of the fire spray?
I thought it was a pretty cool scene for the most part. I mean, obviously, the whole thing with him running after the little rabbit droid was a little ridiculous, and then and he was like, "Oh, do you know who I am?" He's like, "I'm Boba Fett," and the droid decides to turn himself off. I was like, just a little over the top, but hey, self-preservation wins out in the end, I guess. The whole thing where he wasn't able to see to get out was pretty interesting. I mean, before Mandalorian, we never even got a look inside of the ship at all. So it was always kind of interesting to see, like, okay, well, this thing flies in a really weird kind of configuration. So like, what does it look like on the inside? And thinking about it, he's a bounty hunter. How does he like, where is his cargo hold? So I'm glad that we're getting to see inside and the inner workings of the ship, to kind of get a better understanding of how all this stuff kind of fits together, and gives you more of an appreciation when you see, like Empire Strikes Back, and kind of just the whole aesthetic of how everything works, because we never got to see inside before.
Yeah, I think that was said on Mandalorian season 2 was the first we got to see how the pilot seat is kind of on a gimbal in there and it turns and rotates, which makes sense for the way the ship's designed. Personally, I think it's a stupid design because what we find with the whole escape bit is you can't see to maneuver out of your parking space inside the hangar. It goes up and down real great, but it doesn't go out. But again, it's a classic ship. And we did get some really great action, at least out of that, some great fight scenes. And again, finally, people getting shot. Lots of people getting shot in this episode. I really enjoyed that. Not from some killer standpoint, but this is supposed to be Boba Fett. Yes. Boba Fett should be shooting people, not just telling them what his name is.
My name is Boba Fett. Do you respect me? No, but I am Boba Fett. I was left for dead on the sands of Tatooine, and now I'm dead.
And
now you respect me?
Fennec to me was the real standout in this, because this was classic. Again, this was just, I was watching May. Again, I don't care. I don't care. It's gonna be hard to not say May, because everything that happened in this was just right up to the very last little. where she spins, rolls, and then shoots the weight right as the doors are closing. That's another thing about this is there was subterfuge, there was stealth, this was spy stuff, this was familiar territory. So like for us, this, like it's really hard to be critical of it when I wanted to just embrace what was being shown me the entire time. This was like, oh my God, why can it all be just like this? Using all the the droid stuff and everything, and it would have made everything, I don't know, like this guy needs to do more. I hope he's doing more episodes.
Yeah.
Because we really need to keep this tone going. And they did a lot of really cool stuff because, we haven't really seen the inner workings of Jabba's palace. I did think there was a missed opportunity in the kitchen, though, before the rat catcher robot showed up, which was the original robot from Jabba's palace, the one who in the lore was known as basically like a robot serial killer. And he would torture other robots. And a lot of this, I think the main story of this is in Tales from Jabba's Palace, where that guy, the one with the very, he's got that little flash.
Yeah, he's the torture droid.
Yeah, he's the torture droid. And he's working in the kitchen. And I thought, man, there's a really cool opportunity when it was the right voice, because I wasn't sure if it was him or not. And then he just gets knocked out. I was like, man, come on, you can't have that guy in here and not use him for something. Like that would be a good Easter egg moment there, I thought, but missed opportunity.
Sure. Well, we did get Walmart Grievous, which was...
It was funny. It was funny. I mean, undercut by just how easily he was taken out.
Sure.
Speaking of taken out, I'm sorry, but I groaned. When the little robot turned himself off. I know I'm supposed to be like, he was so scared. Like Eric's mentioning that it was like that some people thought it was going to be self-destruct. But like the first thing I thought was that Simpsons gag with the evil Krusty doll. It is like, just they check the bag. It's like, somebody turned this doll to evil. And you just flip a switch. Like if that, like they also could have switched him right back on. Like it's not going to be that easy. Like we can do this all day, turn you on and off. Like it just was weird. Like
sure.
It's basically robot suicide. Like he's just like, I'm Boba Fett, a little robot who only has programming, I'm assuming, right? I don't think every robot in this place is programmed to hear the name Boba Fett and decide it's time to commit suicide. So I don't know, but
yeah. Well, again, you got to have the kid oriented, which again, Eric in the chat is mentioning as well. A lot of kid stuff, a lot of attention to it, and who was it? Was it Rich mentioning about Rich mentioning here in the chat thinks that Disney wants to have their cake and eat it too with these shows that want to appeal to adults while being safe at the same time for kids that might have a possibility of watching them, which is fine. Just keep it in the same line as your films. You got to just maintain that tone and feel. In a way, I think an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. director works well with this because I think a lot of Marvel and Star Wars has a similar tone of a PG-13. Yeah, there might be some comedy little bits, but it's generally sort of a straight story. You have blaster fire, so you don't have to have the blood and stuff, but you still have actions and explosions, the same as you have Iron Man, blasting people with the repulsors and stuff. I think you can get a similar feel to that without having to totally go down to its cartoon base.
I mean, also hands and arms are getting cut off all over and ripped off.
Yeah.
All over Star Wars. So, I mean, what? There's so many people with prosthetic limbs in this.
I think that's what I missed about the Chrysanthemum fight in the palace. None of the mod team got their arms ripped off. We had to wait until this week to get one. I really think Chrysanthemum should have ripped somebody's arm off there. Something. Actually, there is one actual small little point that I did want to hit on, just because there is a lot of odd, saying one thing and then immediately contradicting it. It's a lot of contradictions for Boba Fett. We had it in this episode where he goes up to the droid and he's like, "Do you know who I am? I am Boba Fett," and then he turns off. And then like the next scene, he's telling Fennec, it's advantageous when people think that you're dead. Why the hell do you keep introducing yourself to everyone? The best one that he did was it episode 2? No, episode 3, when he got the bikes, and it brings him up to the Tusken leader, and he says, "My gift to you." Immediately, the Tuskens start kicking, and he turns around and he says, "No, these are mine."
He's been out in the sun for a really long time.
Okay, all right, that's a fair bit. It's just weird, just because they do a lot of this back and forth, which just look. I'm getting older. Maybe I'm easily confused, but it's like, especially that one scene, I'm like, you literally just contradicted what you just said just now. But again, we had action. The Pikes got theirs. That was a beautiful bit. Mowing down biker gang from the air.
That's one of the most beautiful shots in all of Star Wars. That is, again, and as I was watching it, I was like, this is what it was supposed to be. This was like at the end of the first episode.
Yes.
At the end of the first episode, this is what should have been happening. Is montage of getting out, taken in, quickly understanding that they took care of him and he's learning. Bad guys are introduced, and then by the end of the episode, they're all wiped. They kill the Tuskens and he gets his revenge and he's back to just being Boba Fett, but because of everything else that was set up from with the Mandalorian and everything, and that just wasn't possible. But boy, was that just awesome. But again, it just took too long to get here. I feel like I've gone into the future and saw this episode. Somebody said, no, you have to just come with me to week 4, and we'll show you what you're actually gonna enjoy this show. I wish that would have been the case, instead of if I had known that that's all I needed. But you shouldn't have to ask those questions. I feel like every single time I talk, I'm patting, I'm saying good job, and then saying but.
Well, we are getting to, I think, one of the other points that you wanted to get to, which is something that Eric here in the chat mentions. Another reviewer is complaining about how they keep making Boba seem not very intelligent. Like he points his ship right down in the Sarlacc's mouth. Again, there's a lot of design issues that I'm having with this ship.
Yeah.
And that definitely seemed like a really odd choice. But no, I am fully convinced that at this point in Disney canon, Boba is not smart. Darth Vader felt bad, Mace killed his dad, and he's just trying to throw him some work here and there over the years, and he got lucky with Han, allowed him to move up, and he's tough, but I don't think Boba's that bright. When he said we're a lot smarter, I really laughed out loud in my living room. We're much smarter than them. Really?
If you read the Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, which is now the canon version of what happened between Empire and Jedi, it really was luck that he got Han Solo, all of it. But that's neither really here nor there. But I know what you're getting at, completely with this. So he's not that sprite. But which brings me to what I wanted to talk about, which was what Eric also brought up. Was he got out of the Sarlacc pit with his armor on, and yet he thinks it's inside the Sarlacc pit. Now, again, you could say he's just so out of it and it's burning his skin and everything, he doesn't remember. But I just don't buy that. I just don't buy that he just woke up in the desert without his armor on and thought, oh, it's because they took it off down there. No, that was the only thing keeping you alive.
Mhm.
And somehow he fails to remember that, and that's why he has to stick his ship down into what was in that bacta tank, right? Where somebody's slipping him like LSD or something, like.
Wait, well,
or was somebody slipping him grandpa's cough medicine, like in like large, hallucinogenic doses? Because there's so many decisions that were in here. I mean, they just wanted a reason to go. Why didn't he say, like he did say, I got some scores to settle, right? So like make one of them. I'm gonna kill the thing that tried to eat me. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
Is that we're going in there to make sure this thing is dead once and for all.
Well, and I'm curious if he did see his armor down there. What was his plan then? He would still have to like take out the Sarlacc because he can't just say, "Oh, Sarlacc, here's a bantha. I'll trade you." I mean, I don't.
Tractor beam. I'm pretty sure. I mean, listen, they do have tractor beams in Star Wars. He's a bounty hunter.
Sure.
Tractor beam. But all right, so I think, Rob, like, I understand what you were saying, that you find it ridiculous that he didn't remember about the armor. But, I mean, listen, he'd been in the Sarlacc for, like probably months. Well, no, maybe not months, right? But weeks, maybe.
No, can't be that long. It was an oxygen thing. He needed it from there. It could only have been a few hours.
Yeah.
Day or two, maybe.
All right. So look, either way, he's in the desert. His skin is practically melting off of him because he's trapped in a damn Sarlacc. He's disoriented.
Sure.
What he gets out of the Sarlacc, he's dehydrated, and the damn Jawas come and do their thing and strip him because that's what the hell damn Jawas do. He wakes up without his armor. He's like, oh man, he probably thought he had a spice trip because of what happened to him. He's probably like, man, I was that Sarlacc did a number on me. Made me take off my damn armor and crawl out of it. Okay, so I think that I think that he thought he might have been on drugs.
That's the secret of the Sarlacc, actually, is it makes spice. We're on Arrakis, actually.
Yeah,
Tatooine is known as Arrakis. And yeah, it just gets you high. It's a whole, here's some heroin and digestive enzymes. Okay, it's a party.
I think it could be plausible, personally.
Yeah, it is. It's plausible.
Sure. I mean, yeah, delusional. He can't remember. Obviously, he never bothered to ask the Tuscans if anything had happened. Did they see anything? He didn't think about it till after they died. That's fine. Again, there's a certain amount of stuff. In some ways, I am totally willing to forgive.
It almost feels like one of those scenes where they start at the end and work backward. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's all really cool dropping what was that, like a depth charge or an equivalent to a space depth charge.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to, like, an EMP or not an EMP. God, whatever it is. They were like, wouldn't that be cool if we killed the Sarlacc with one of those? And so you just that, and I mean, you really wanted to see more. I think people hadn't seen enough of the ship, and you wanted to see what you could actually do with it. Because I thought, as stupid as it was pretty cool watching what it was going on.
Oh, sure.
Knowing that there was only one, like, way this was going to play out, which was like basically Slave One was the final girl from a horror movie, and the Sarlacc pit was Jason Voorhees. Because you like looking at the dead body, like, get all like, I'm sure he's dead. I'm sure he's dead. Get right up in there, and then pan and. So So
Well, actually, Boba's problem is Boba was remembering the Sarlacc pit from the original edition and not special edition. The original edition didn't have the mouth and extra tentacles and all those things. Well, it had some tentacles, but it didn't have the giant mouth thing. So yeah, that was his problem. He couldn't remember which version of the Sarlacc he was dealing with.
that thing makes me think that it's underneath that sand. I wonder. I keep picturing like one of those Marlboros from like Final Fantasy, with the just all tentacle and mouth. Just like
It's very scary, very unfortunate. All right, so we get the Sarlacc. I'm sorry, Don. Did you want to jump in on any of this? Any thoughts, other thoughts on the Sarlacc or thing before we move on?
Listen, the Sarlacc thing was kind of ridiculous because, for one, Slave One is bigger than the Sarlacc mouth. So how were you planning on getting the ship in there for you to get your armor? Two, yeah, listen, Boba Fett was recast for the special edition. So you should remember the mouth and tentacles. So yeah, I mean, for him to forget that, unless after he got recast, he still only retained the memories from the original edition.
Yeah.
So that maybe that's what happened. Either way, it's interesting seeing him fly the ship, but it was ridiculous seeing him try to get it down the mouth of the Sarlacc. And honestly speaking, I had totally forgot about the depth charge. I mean, even though it was awesome how it was used in the Mandalorian, I just didn't even think about it here for this, because I'm like, all right, well, he's got his guns that can't do anything, but obviously he gets out of here somehow. And then when I saw the depth charge come out, I was like, oh, okay, I should have thought of that and totally didn't. But that was actually a very cool shot, and now we know how you can kill a Sarlacc.
Yeah, it was a nice callback to the previous one, and what was it, episode 2? I think he'd used it in the in the Obi-Wan chase above
Camino.
Thank you.
No, sorry, Geonosis.
Geonosis. Thank you. I always forget that planet. So forgettable. Unlike Tatooine,
it's another desert planet. What's not to remember?
Which we can never get away from. Can we please get out of Tatooine? That's God. I want a show that never shows Tatooine. I would be so happy.
I say build a third Death Star. Take care of Tatooine once and for all.
They already did that. Starkiller base, but apparently you can blow that up just as easy as the Death Star. So
I'm saying that somebody I've still never seen Rise of Skywalker, but who's to say that the Emperor also didn't have an extra Death Star floating down there somewhere? They could throw up in the 11th hour. Who knows?
Now I will get my new body. But first, fuck that desert planet. Goddamn Skywalkers.
That's where all the Skywalkers came from.
I mean, but technically, isn't he the progenitor of the Skywalker lineage?
Yes, but they get too much sun on desert planets, and it just makes them all wrong. They get too overdone. I don't know. He's crazy. What do I know?
He's the god of the universe, so he just he doesn't care about destroying whole worlds.
All right. So, look, we get the Slave One. We get final discussion and agreement between Fennec and Boba to work together. We'll make money. I will be loyal to you. You'll be loyal to me. This is the whole basis of respect that Boba's going for. And we finally finish our flashback sequence and are done with a bacta tank, because the stupid droid comes in and tells him, you are fully healed, except those other scars on you, which we're not going to change. But other than that, you're fully healed. So hopefully no more freaking flashbacks. And we could the last 3 episodes could be just dealing with whatever the heck is going on with this fight with the Pikes.
Unless they do a flashback that's I'm not unless they do a flashback. That's where people were complaining that they didn't cast Daniel Logan as Boba Fett. They could show a younger Boba Fett like adventure in a flashback where he met Han Solo.
God, no. You know, I keep
I'm
hearing.
sorry.
It's not Alden Ehrenreich this Han Solo, right?
Look, I would much rather have the Mandalorian than a de-aged Harrison Ford or just whole CGI'd Harrison Ford. Oh God, stay away from
I'm
that
sorry.
stuff.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. And don't anybody think that that's actually what I want to happen or.
Nope, it's one of the talks, which is why when we got our Mandalorian theme at the end of this, it was like, okay, I could do that. Is it Mando? Does it make sense? Maybe it's the other Mandalorians. I can't remember what's Bo-Katan's group is called.
Bucketheads.
The Night Owls.
The Night Owls, thank you. Or yeah, exactly. So it could be that something like that might be a way to sort of check in with things because yeah, Mando's not really a gun for hire. He's a bounty hunter who's now maybe not even that. I don't know.
He's Mandalore now.
He's Mandalorian. Hey, but we've got a Wookiee. We got a Wookiee with us now, which was totally not a surprise, but he did go up against some Trandoshans and we did get an arm ripped off. So that was good.
Yeah.
Do all the Trandoshans have the giant eyes? Is that all the masks?
I guess.
I think we had one in the later meeting who was like a little bit like he was looking mean, but otherwise they're all.
I also kind of saw them as kind of superior, like more well built instead of just regular like just me framed. Okay, like they all just kind of you could just tell they were just people. And I didn't feel like I was really looking at another race when I saw the Trandoshans because I just kind of see them in and that's just a personal thing. That's not it's just what I've seen in pictures and read and everything. I've always seen them as more intimidating looking. Seeing them just at a casino is weird.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it doesn't happen.
Right. I mean, it was kind of. Listen, that whole thing seemed a little weird to me at first anyway, because the first thing I was thinking was, why is he getting so upset? Because you know what? If it hadn't been for me watching videos about some of this stuff, I wouldn't have known that he basically was enslaved by Trandoshans. They talk about him being a gladiator, but there's nothing in the show that lets you know why he hates the Trandoshans. So, until that thing kind of kicked in my head, I was thinking like, does he just not like seeing people win or something?
Yeah. It's relying on a lot of lore you as an audience member should know versus what the show will tell you. And I think it does this a lot. I think it does this a lot more than it really should.
I think that they kind of answer it a little bit, which is that I think you're supposed to infer that a guy like a person, a being as Kirstan, who is used to having a job that is very violent and intense. When a guy like that has too much free time to just sit in a casino and not do what he does, I think when Boba Fett comes out, he's like, "You look like a guy who needs a job." Like I think he's just sitting there festering over whatever's inside his head about those guys. It doesn't really have to make sense, I don't think, when you get to that point where you're just restless and he needs to hurt something. He was charging up at the table like it was building inside him of like, I have to hit something almost. But they're asking you to infer that. And I think, and I don't think a lot of people are going to really understand that. And I don't think little kids need anything. They just see them action figures bashing into each other. But I think that for some of the audience, that's going to be a little weird one for, like you're saying, like, why is he so mad? And I think that they're asking us to make some of these leaps strangely when all we need is like a line of dialogue, like they ripped me off, or that girl that is with them, I liked that girl, like whatever, like give us just one line of dialogue to explain his motivation.
Honestly, I mean, if you're going to use a flashback, you could have done a 2-second, 3-scene bit where he's just thinking and he sees a flashback of a Trandoshan cage and him, and then banging on the cage, something like that. You could have done a brief little bit. I mean, obviously, the flashbacks are meant for the bacta tank and Boba Fett, no one else. But this would have been a very cool thing where you could have just done even a non-specific shot that would have like gone, oh, he hates Trandoshans, or he hates lizard people if you don't know what they're called. And yes, Silva, I know Trandoshans are known for hunting Wookiees. We know this as big fans in lore, but it's not implied on the show. And you can't depend on the audience bringing in extra information, especially of a weight like this. This is something that you do have to tell story-wise. Otherwise, it just becomes very lazy storytelling.
Yeah, because then we'll wait till next episode where he'll be like, why did you rip off that Trandoshan's arm? And then he'll growl something about they hunt my people and blah 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 blah, and then we'll have to like go, oh well, there they did it, they explained it away. I don't know.
Yeah, well, even again, a drop of line in there, a dropped line of like, look, I know they hunt your people, but they can't happen here. Anyway, we're digressing. We're complaining. Yeah. We do want to wrap things up because there is one thing that I do want to touch on. Silva Surfa mentions it here. Curious about our reactions to the Moon Knight trailer. And since that will be the next show coming up, discussions here on D's Reviews at the end of March, we will touch on that before we wrap up tonight's show. But yeah, we basically end this with the big family meeting. I mean, there's not much to get into. It's work with me, we'll make money. No. All right, then stay out of my way and I'll take care of it so I can show its best to work with me so we can make money. Whatever.
I have a rancor.
I will drink to that. Yes. Yes, Boba. I will drink to that. I stay home, I make money. You go fight, and I stay home and I make money.
And I think we can all agree that that last family head is definitely going to betray him to the Pikes. The one who says, abide. He is not the dude. He is not the dude alien.
Yeah, that was, a little kind of Godfather-like scene. When you're like, yes, and we have the 5 mafia families of Tatooine. Listen, I would not be the one to break the peace. Yeah.
And we're going to eat dinner over what we're going to feed to dinner afterwards. It is intimidating to have your dinner dinner table over the Rancor pit. I have to say that was a nice little move. But we wrap things up, of course, with we need for muscle, and we have Fennec replying, with coin you can get muscle, and our last little hint as we play the Mandalorian theme, hinting that this could be Return for Din Djarin next episode, or like I said, could be Bo-Katan, the Night Owls, the Night Guard, some faction of the Mandalorian. But because of the theme, this seems like most likely we'll get a Din Djarin, which I gotta agree with you, Rob. He's going to become the center of the show, or at least for that episode, and Boba Fett's going to be second fiddle in his own show. That's how I think. I don't know about anyone else.
It's kind of impossible because the audience that wants the Mandalorian to come back is a lot of them are only watching this to fill that hole.
It's true.
There's not I don't think that everybody in this audience, not here in this video, but I mean in general, are everybody's just all about Baby Yoda and Din Djarin.
Yep.
Mostly Baby Yoda. Let's just face that also. So it's gonna be it's impossible, and you're gonna bring in what everybody really wants, and it's just kind of sad when you have so many other characters to choose from over the course of the Star Wars universe. So there are people that are, muscle. You can get, there's so many people in the Star Wars universe they could pick.
It's actually going to be Dengar, folks. He's bringing back Dengar. Yeah. No, Dengar doesn't have a theme. Well, all right. So any final thoughts on this episode as a whole? There's only 3 episodes left. We're preparing for war, so the idea is there should be some more action. We should be getting some stuff. Do we feel like this is a redemption point of the show and we feel better moving forward? Or is this that lucky blip in the middle and we're afraid that it could easily return back to something less than exciting?
I said cautiously optimistic, but like I said, I also said cautiously like 3 times.
Very true. Very true. I mean, again, if they do bring back Mandalorian, hopefully that there is kind of more of that feel that we get. I mean, that's the only kind of thought that I have on there. Don, any idea there?
You know what? I'm gonna second Rob's thoughts on this one. Yeah, cautiously optimistic. So far, this show unfortunately has been a bit of a letdown. So, even though many bright spots in this episode, there were still many things that we were able to kind of rip apart for just not being to the level that it should be.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that this was a turning point, though, and that it continues an upward trend from here. Hopefully having Mando on next episode won't be that big of a distraction. Maybe they'll give Boba something cooler to do so that this way, Din Djarin is not the main focus in terms of the, for lack of a better term, water cooler talk
Sure.
the episode.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I think that pretty much wraps up our discussion of this week's episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, we have episode 5 coming out next week. Who knows what it will bring us? Hopefully more good stuff. But before we close, let's spend a couple of minutes talking about Moon Knight. On Monday Night Football this past week, we had the big trailer review. We also had our date reveal, which is the end of March 30th, I think, was the date that they give. So we'll be following that up on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Same type of thing, same rotating group of people. But let's get everyone's opinion real quick on this next bit of adventure, because it does have feels like a bit of a tonal shift that I'm kind of excited about. Rob, let's start with you. What did you think about our big Moon Knight trailer?
To be honest, this is what I think it's going to be good, but I do think it's going to be following the pattern of you ain't going to see this guy here till the end.
Okay.
Or nearly. To the end. I think they're gonna explore the problems with Mark Spector internally, which does not mean it's going to be bad. That could be done really well if we're going to be talking about dissociative identity disorder and all the really interesting things that Moon Knight gets up to. I'm a massive Moon Knight fan. So I'll be really excited to talk about this. I just felt like the trailer gave us a lot of psychological stuff, which I was really into. But I really don't think we're going to get tons of Moon Knight until hopefully a season 2 of Moon Knight. That's just what I got from the first impression of it.
Right on, right on. Don, what did you think of our first look at Mark Spector's debut? I think on any live action media.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting because, for one, Oscar Isaac, British accent, very good actually, very very good. So, damn you, Rob! Why did you have to put that thought out about the whole, not seeing Moon Knight until maybe the last episode or two? Damn it! They better not pull a Daredevil season 1 on me again. All right. This is going to be interesting. I got Legion vibes off of this one a little bit.
Yeah.
And I loved Legion. And I think I would be disappointed as far as, not showing Moon Knight versus what happened with Legion, because Legion didn't really have any characters that had costumes. So, doesn't matter. Only thing they were missing on David Haller was the wild hair. But it's like, all right, you know what? That hair kind of looked ridiculous anyway. So, it's fine that you didn't have him with that weird, flat top thing or whatever the hell that was. The thing that I'm wondering though is how heavily they're going to lean into the whole psychological aspect, and are people going to have a hard time with the whole dual and possible triple identity? Well, no, really, or is it quadruple? Because isn't Moon Knight Moon Knight is his own personality as well. So yeah, I'm wondering how well people are going to do with the whole quadruple identity thing if they decide to actually do all 4 personalities. So that's the thing that's going to be, interesting for me to see is like, are they going to be able to pull that off? Because Moon Knight stories can get complicated.
True.
And dark, and it'll to me it'll prove whether or not it should have ended up on Hulu or not. I personally think it should have been a Hulu show. But we'll see.
Yeah.
And Rena in the chat talking about Gaspard Ulliel, who played Anton Mogart, the Midnight Man, died. From a ski accident, which I did not know.
Yeah, just the other day.
Is that who that was?
Yeah. Just very, very shocking. We'll get to see his last performance at the very least, but so yeah, it's always heartbreaking. I mean, anybody passing away for sure is always a loss, especially when you have an artist that gets to do something and doesn't even really get to see that brought forth or the reactions. I mean, that's what a lot of people kind of work towards. I mean, Gaspard has an established acting career, so it's not like he needed Marvel to get some breakthrough or anything like that. But it's just he's 37 years old. Thank you, Eric. It's just horrible and tragic, and I hate to shift this into, oh my god, this was an awesome show, but I am looking forward to seeing at least his performance, because this does look awesome. I was really excited to see it. I totally get what you guys get with the psychological vibes. Legion is still one of my favorite shows, and I still regard season 1 of Legion to be a perfect season in regards to story pacing, how much they squeeze into 8 episodes, I think was that first season. It was just freaking astounding and a mind-bending bit with some amazing performances. Got a lot of those feels here. And if you want to dive into the whole psychological bit, I am all about it. It was so good. My wife, who has finally gotten kind of away from a lot of the Star Wars and Marvels, it's feeling very same. I pulled up the trailer for that, and she's like, "Oh, I'll watch that. Oh yeah, I'll definitely check that one out." I mean, Oscar Isaac, yes, amazing, astounding. You've got Kevin Bacon in there looking super creepy. I am really excited to see this. And honestly, if they do push his costume reveal towards the back half and really fill the beginning with some interesting stuff, I will be fine with that. But I say all of that with that little bit of caution is the fact that it is Disney Plus. And if there's patterns that are being established, and sadly, part of this show makes me worried, but also the fact that we maybe have a different people in charge, a different vision, if they want to commit. And Oscar Isaac has said they are telling Mark Spector's story. If they're willing to go that far. Oh, Ethan Hawke. I'm sorry, not Kevin Bacon. You are totally right on that. My bad. Thank you, Silva. God, I would like to see now. Now I want to see Kevin Bacon. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I am really excited about seeing it. I do have a slight bit of trepidation just because those stories can go really weird, and they should to be told right. And I'm just hoping that they're going to find a way to do that within whatever constraints Disney Plus has. Because otherwise, yeah, do this stuff on Hulu, man. Hulu's the new Netflix for Marvel Darkness. That's all I'm going to say. I don't believe I called Ethan Hawke Kevin Bacon. That's horrible of me. It's the hair. There you go. Perfect. So, yes, coming up end of March, beginning of April, we will be talking all about Moon Knight right here on D's Reviews, and that will follow the pattern we have for this show, Thursday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific. Thank you guys so much for joining us with our little discussion tonight. Silva Surfa, of course, joining us live in the chat. The Rich Room, Rena Dietrich, Eric Scott throwing out some nice things. Bill Casey stopping in here as well. We had Doc Moore in here at the beginning. The Boy Wonder. Appreciate. Thank you, everybody, for joining us live. Everyone joining us in the chat, in the archive. And, guys, let people know where they can find you and anything that you're doing now. Don, let's kick things off with you.
Well, obviously you can find me here with wait, what the hell did he go? Well, this gentleman right here and the guy that was there he is, he's back. That guy right here. And if you want, you can follow me on Twitter at iDonWillie. That's IDonWilli, and here on YouTube at A Dawn of Ice and Fire. And until next time. Au revoir. Rob, take it away.
All right. You can find me here doing this. But on Saturday, the January 29th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a video over on my channel with some of my friends here. Hopefully, Darren and Don will be there. Hopefully, Mark from Enchantment of Eternity and Alyssa Jean from Alyssa Jean Reviews will also be there as we discuss 2021's entertainment, all the stuff that we didn't talk about individually on our channels, things that people just maybe wanted to get our own opinions on, bounce some stuff off, talking Matrix, Spider-Man, all sorts of stuff that we haven't done yet, and it should be fun.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yep, that's where you can find me. At Smirking Reviews. I don't even tell anybody my own channel name. Guess what it is.
We should put some links below. I will try and jump in and do that. Yeah, so that's going to be next Saturday, right? 10 days. Yeah, 9 days from now, 29th, over on Smirking Reviews. Big 2021 look back. Really excited to jump in, especially since I finally was able to catch up on Eternals and Venom and a few other things that I've been waiting to kind of put in my brain so we can talk about these things. So really excited. Hope you guys can join us. Otherwise, we will catch you right here next week. Enjoy and good night. Now we got to hit a bunch of buttons.
This might be the way.